Welcome friends. We were discussing aggregate production planning, and in that we have already studied the definition of aggregate production planning, different strategies just like chase strategy, resource level strategy, all the studies we have already studied. Aggregate production planning is a very interesting topic, and it is also related to your daily life. I have also given you example that for preparing the examination you have a two strategy. Either you cram all your syllabus on the last day and then take the examination. As a second strategy, you review or you make the note throughout your semester and then just review it and take the examination. These two strategies are quite good at their own place. The cramming of the syllabus works very well if the demand is not fluctuating, or if your situation is stable. Suppose you have only one exam in one day, then you have a time. But suppose you have two exams in a one day, morning shift and evening shift, then definitely the time will be reduced in making the review or the cramming. So the first strategy or the second strategy will work out when you are getting the less time. You just imagine the similar situation also occurs in the manufacturing companies. Before going to in the actual situation which the manufacturing companies are facing, you just see in your house also. As a common, either you have a 4-member family or 6-member family with including your parents. So your mother and wife, what they do? They plan the breakfast, they plan the lunch, they plan the dinner either for 4 or the 6 persons, and the demand is quite stable. The quantity which they estimate is also constant. But just take one example. When you have a regular visitor at your home or regular guest, and they are in a varying quantity, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, sometimes 6. Now you just imagine what strategy you should follow to deal with the variation in the demand. In some time, your wife or your mother will hire or will borrow the utensil or the cutlery from your neighbor. Even in case they may hire a maid servant for cooking the breakfast and the lunch, so that you can meet the demand of your guest. Now just see this situation and compare with the situation at the manufacturing company. For example, manufacturing of car. You have a variety of car and the demand is also fluctuating. Then how you will aggregate the demand, how you will plan your production so that you can meet the customer demand in a rightful manner. In today's session, we are going to cover a very popular method in aggregate production planning, that is cut and try method. The second, we will also explain what is aggregate production planning environment, then the different strategies for aggregate production planning that we will also discuss. This is a very interesting topic, and you will find very common information which is very, very useful in your daily life. So first we will take a cut and try example. A firm with a pronounced seasonal variation normally plans production for a full year to capture the extremes in the demand during the busiest and the lowest month. Now let us wish to set up a production plan for a company for the next 6 months. Here I am again recalling that table. In this table you have a various information from January to month June, then what are the different working days, what is the material at your hand, what is the hiring and the training cost, what is the quantity of inventory at the beginning. So I will refer that table again and again, and when you see the calculation you should also refer this table as a reference table. Under the cut and try example, for solving this problem, the first thing we can exclude the cost of the material. The reason, because we could have included this rupees 4,500 cost in all calculation. But if we assume that the cost of 4,500 is common to each demand unit, then we need only, our concern is with the managerial cost. Our subcontracting cost is rupees 5,400, so our true cost of subcontracting will be 5,400 minus 4,500, that is 900, because we have the material at our end. If you just refer the table, inventory at the beginning of first period is 400 units. Now, because the demand forecast is imperfect, the company has determined a safety stock. The safety stock is also known as buffer inventory or buffer stock. Therefore, a safety stock should be established in order to reduce the likelihood of stock out. Before investigating a alternative production plan, it is often useful to convert the demand forecast into the production requirement, which take into account the safety stock estimate. Under the cut and try example, you should note that these requirements implicitly assume that safety stock is never actually consumed or used. That means in each ending inventory for each month, that equals the safety stock also for that month. For example, if we are taking the safety stock for January, the safety stock is equal to 25% of the total demand in January, that is 450, becomes the inventory at the end of January. So when we try to find out the production requirement for the January, then it is a demand plus safety stock minus the inventory at the beginning. So our demand is 1800, safety stock is 450, and the 400 is the beginning. So we should start our production for 1850 unit only. Under the cut and try example, we also try to formulate different alternative plan which a company should use using a spreadsheet. So here we are going to investigate 4 different plans with the objective of finding the one with the lowest total cost. So therefore our objective is to minimize the overall total cost. Under plan 1, it is a very simple plan. We produce for exactly 2-month production. We take the requirement of production for exactly 2 months, and here the working hours is fixed, that is 8 hours, but we vary the work size. This is the plan 1, and we will see that what is the cost associated with under the plan 1. Under the plan 2, we will produce to meet the expected average demand over the next 6 months by maintaining the constant workforce. If you just remember, under production plan 1, we are varying the workforce size. This constant number of worker is calculated or determined by finding the average number of worker required each day over the horizon. Now take the total production requirement, multiply by the time required for each unit. Therefore, if we divide the total time that a person work over the origin, then we will get the total number of workers. If we need 8,000 unit, our need or the working hours is 5 hours per unit, total time is 125 days, and 8 hours per day is the duty. So if you calculate, we will find that 40 workers are required under plan 2. Under plan 2, it is important to note that here the inventory is allowed to accumulate with a storage filled from the next month production by a back order. There is another term which is called the negative beginning inventory that balance your back order. In some cases, there is a chances of lost sale if your demand is not met. The lost sale can also be shown with a negative ending inventory balance by a zero beginning inventory balance in the next period. You should also notice that under this plan, we should use our safety stock in January, February, March and June to meet the expected demand. Now we will come to the plan 3. Here our objective is to produce to meet the minimum expected demand using a constant workforce on a regular time. Remember, again we are taking a constant work. Second important point, we are also going for a subcontracting if there is a additional output requirement. Here we can also calculate the number of workers by locating the minimum monthly production requirement and determining how many workers would be needed for that month. 850 is the demand, 5 hours per unit is the time on to be spent on that particular unit, 21 days in a month, 8 hours per day is the working hours. So we come to a figure that is 25 workers. We employ 25 workers for making 850 units, but if there is a difference between the requirement and the production, we will also go for the subcontracting. Under production plan 4, we always try to produce to meet the expected demand, but only for the first 2 months. Here again we are using a constant workforce on a regular time. Another important point you should note, here we will allow the overtime if there is a additional output requirement. Under plan 4, it is very difficult to compute the number of workers, but the goal is to finish June with the ending inventory as close as possible to the June safety stock. If we go for the trial and error method, it can be shown a constant workforce of 38 workers is the closest approximation for plan 4. This will give you the complete picture for the aggregate production planning requirement. That is, what is the beginning inventory, then demand forecast, safety stock, that is 25% of the demand forecast, then what is the production requirement, and what is the ending inventory plus production minus the demand forecast given in the last row. Now we will come the various techniques which are mathematical in nature, but they found a quite good place in determining the aggregate production planning. The first technique is the linear programming. You should, as a learner, you should understand that what is linear programming and what type of input is required for solving a linear programming problem and what output we get from the linear program. The first important thing, linear programming, there are certain objectives which we have to fulfill. This may be either minimization of the cost or the maximization of the profit. In case of aggregate production planning, since the main objective is the cost, so we will go for the minimization of cost. The general model of the linear programming is appropriate to aggregate production planning if the cost and the variable relationship is a linear and demand can be treated as a deterministic. The linear programming is not suitable for the probabilistic demand or the scholastic demand. Whatever is the important point is the linear relationship. That means our equation should not be in terms of x square or x cube. It should always be in terms of a single power of x, that is x plus y plus z, all these things. For a special case where hiring and firing are not consideration, the more easily formulated transportation model can be applied in a manner similar to the location problem. As you remember, transportation model is very useful when you have a certain resources and you have certain destination, and you have to find the allocation of sources to the destination so that the requirement of destination can be fulfilled, and you should also exhaust the resources at the source end. That is the main objective of the transportation model. The various transportation techniques are north corner method, northwest corner method, your Vogel approximation method, least cost method. All these we will see that they are coming under the transportation model. Application of transportation matrix to aggregate planning is illustrated by a solved example. We can take one example and we can try to solve it. This formulation is also termed as a period model because it relates to the production demand to the production capacity. In case there are 4 sub-periods with a demand forecast of as 800 units in each case. The total capacity available is 3950. So there is a excess capacity of 750, that is 3950 minus 3200, that is 750. However, if you just recall the table, the bottom row of the matrix indicate the desire for the 500 units in inventory at the end of the planning period. So unused capacity is reduced to 250. If you just go left side of the matrix, it will indicate the mean by which the production is made available over a planning period. That is the beginning inventory and regular and overtime work during each period. And X indicate a period where the production cannot be backlogged. That is, we cannot produce in say period 3 to meet the demand in period 2. You just appreciate the period 1, period 2 and period 3. So the meaning of the second point is that if you are going in period 3, you cannot fulfill the demand for the period 2 or period 1. The demand or the production in period 3 is only for meeting the demand for period 3. Finally, cost in each cell are incremented by a holding cost of rupees 225 for each period. Therefore, if one produce on regular time in period 1 to satisfy the demand for period 4, there will be a holding cost of rupees 675 holding cost. Now you appreciate this is a reverse. You are in the period 1, but you are trying to produce to satisfy the demand for the period 4. Now the inventory or the product will remain in your inventory for period 2, 3 and it will be utilized in period 4. That is why there is a involvement of the holding cost, which is rupees 675 as a holding cost. Overtime is of course more expensive to start, but holding cost in this scenario is not affected whether the production is on regular time or overtime. You should understand this point that there are two methods for meeting the demand for period 4. Either you build up the inventory in period 1, 2 and 3 for period 4, or you go for the overtime because you have to compare whether the overtime is more expensive or the holding cost is more expensive. Now whether you are going for a overtime or whether you are going for a regular time, the holding inventory cost will always be there, because whatever you have taken or you have produced by overtime in period 1, that will remain in the inventory and that will attract the inventory holding cost. We have also taken the solution as a optimal one. If you just see the observation, the linear programming is an appropriate when the cost and the variable relationship are linear. Friends, there are some observations on linear programming and the mathematical techniques which we are using for aggregate production planning. The most important observation regarding the linear programming is the linear relationship. There must be a linear relationship among the variables. Second important thing is that in case of a complex problem, we can take the help of solver in using Microsoft Excel. Because when you go for the real problem, you will find the complexity in the problem. We are unable to solve manually. Therefore, we need either a software or a solver like program using Microsoft Excel. The basic issue is the management attitude towards the model, because there are certain cases where the whole aggregate production planning depends on the attitude of the management. Those companies where the modeling is the way of life are likely to try the more sophisticated methods if you compare with those where we are using only graphic and the charting approach. You just compare with these two companies, the attitude of these two company management. Some wants a very simplicity, they will always try to focus on the graphical method. They only want the result using the graphical method. Somewhere in the middle ground, like the companies, they have the substantial experience in the data processing and they are using the computer primarily for the detailed scheduling. In such type of firms, we would expect to see the experimentation with the alternative cut and try plans in developing the aggregate. Now, another thing that how you will provide the capacity for your production plan. Determination and the adjustment of capacity in an operating system is an important task in aggregate production planning, because here you are taking the decision either intentionally or inadvertently that changes the structure of the system, that also affect the efficiency of the operation of the particular system. If there is any wrong decision, that will result in the structure change and as well as loss in the efficiency. For example, following the failure to adjust the system capacity to match the customer demand change. That means as the customer demand is changing, we are not able to adjust the system capacity. Therefore, there is always chances of stock out or the lost sale. Planning and control of the capacity both are important and complex. Furthermore, the nature of the problem will often affected by the structure of the organization. In other words, for a given structure, the capacity management problem may differ from the facing the management in different structure. You should also appreciate that the structure affects the nature and the complexity of the capacity planning problem. This is by method, by procedure, by techniques available to tackle the problem. And all these are also influenced by the structure. In all respect, we consider the capacity management to be the principal problem area, the nature of which is the characteristics of the system structure. The management of system capacity is a crucial importance in case of the operation management. If you determine the capacity, it is a key system planning or the design problem. Then adjustment of the capacity is another problem area. There is a direct impact of the capacity decision on the system performance in case of both resource utilization or in case of the improving the customer service. You will find very difficult to see how the organization operate effectively without a good capacity management. If the excess capacity is inevitable, it will give rise to low resource productivity. If you have an inadequate capacity, that means you are going for a poor customer service. So both are important. One should go for the optimum utilization of the capacity utilization. Decision made in other area are unlikely to offset in this area. The capacity problem is often of a medium to long-term nature. Since system capacity is a long-term reflection of the nature and the amount of resources available in the system, therefore short-term adjustment are sometimes not possible. If you just see, capacity management is primarily concerned with the matching of resource to the demand. Whatever is your demand, one has to match the resources. It is also concerned with the level of resource and the level of demand. One factor adding considerably to the complexity of inventory, capacity and scheduling problem is their close interdependence. All the variables which are to be considered under the capacity management, they have their interdependence. Sometimes we have to trade off one variable for the sake of others. The decision taken has the direct impact on the performance of others because of the interdependence. Such interdependence is less evident in the other problem area because it is a fact that tends to under the central importance of these three problem areas in the management of the operation. In many respects, the problem of inventory management and the scheduling, these both are very important in case of aggregate production planning. They are subsidiary to the problem of the capacity management. Capacity management, in short, will determine how the operating system accommodate the customer demand level fluctuation. Now we will show you a simplified structure of an assembled product. That means any product consists of several assemblies or sub-assemblies. I am just taking a product which is a two assemblies, then each sub-assembly consisting of three parts. Again, their three parts are individually consisting of each part. So you just see that if we are going only for product 1, we should also make a aggregate production plan for their sub-assembly, and also we should make a production plan for their sub-component and sub-component. That is the importance and the complexity involved in case of the aggregate production planning. If you just see the simplified structure, that we will also take in detail when we will discuss in material requirement planning, but just for the sake of information, we are discussing this simplified structure of an assembled product. Based on input from a master schedule, bill of material and the inventory record, the MRP processor computes how many of each component and raw material will be needed in future time period by exploding the end product schedule in the into successively lower level in the product structure. The capacity for production plan computation must deal with the several complicating factors. Here, component and the sub-assembly quantity must be adjusted for any inventory on hand or on order. Second important, quantities of common use item must be combined during the part explosion to obtain the total requirement. That means, suppose in any case, in any level, we have a common component, then the total quantity of that component is aggregated, whether it is coming under sub-assembly A or under sub-assembly B, but we will aggregate the total quantity. The time phase delivery of end product must be converted into account in ordering or manufacturing the lead time. That means lead time, that means when we are ordering and when we are receiving, that in between time is called the lead time. For each component of the product, the raw material must be ordered, accounting for its ordering lead time, assembly lead time, they all must be considered when we are scheduling the sub-assembly or the final product. So in today's session, we have discussed two important aggregate production planning technique, that is cut and try method and the mathematical technique. Later techniques elaborate the way by which production planning problem can be solved through linear programming or by using transportation matrix. And in the last section, we have given a brief description about providing the capacity for the production planning. In that, we have also studied that how a simple product can be made of sub-assembly and the different components, and we have to schedule for our production for the main product as well as for sub-assembly and as well as for the component also. Thank you.